Okay, so I'm recording this again for the second time because the first time the mic, it was on the wrong mic. But yeah, we're gonna go through this again. So this is a solo strategy for a Shadow Priest Wrath of the Lich King Phase 1. Um, I'll add all of the information as to spec and my gear, but there's two things you need within this. Is the Inner Fire Glyph and you need Indestructible Potions. As you can see on the screen, I just wanted to show this straight away where you can abuse a bit of pathing to make it so that the enemies try to follow you around that ridge there where you can jump off. It causes the mobs to go a bit crazy. So if you do have maybe gear that's not as good, or if you're a little bit worried about taking too much damage if you're not confident, then definitely a great strategy to just bring them up to the top. You move left and right when you're at the bottom, and you can abuse a bit of pathing while you're healing yourself up. But yeah, as you can see, perfectly normal and easy to just face tank the enemies, especially one by one. And I'll talk about dispersion in a bit, but here I'm just using it for mana. But yeah, making sure you've always got your Vampiric Touch, Shadow Word Pain, and Devouring Plague on the mob you want to die first. And then just using Mind Blast for replenishment. I am using Indestructible Potions pretty much on every pull. You don't need to, but it's more of a safety precaution. And yeah, one of the great things about doing this solo is it's not too stressful. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. I've been doing it for the past few weeks. Haven't been lucky on the mount yet, but it roughly takes me around 12, 15 odd minutes, depending on what I'm doing. What I could be doing here is, just absolutely face tanking both of them or using Shackle, but instead I'm just having a bit of fun to show you how it kind of works. But a few things to mention: the Stallions, they can hurt. They also have a 60% attack speed buff, and they get increased strength buff. You can dispel that strength buff from them, but the attack buff is always going to be there. So just make sure you're conscious of that. Another thing, make sure your shield is pretty much always on cooldown. So whenever you're able to shield yourself again, unless you haven't taken any damage, just pop the shield back on. It's really important just to stay as high health as you can. And if you do find yourself running low when the shield is up, you just flash heal, renew, palm, do whatever you need to do. So yeah, popping another indestructible potion. The pulls are pretty easy. You want to focus the stable hand first. They have a bunch of abilities that just get kind of annoying, so you want to do that to them. And for any other mob that's kind of trailing along, just go ahead and put a VT and a Shadow of Pain, just so you can get the extra healing. But yeah, as you can see, for me, I don't need to do the lip. I'm confident fighting them, but yeah, just pull them back a bit so that you don't aggro anything else or any of the patrols that come through. And I do have a couple weak auras, so I can always pop them down, but I find the Inner Fire one really useful so that I always know how close I am to having to rebuff Inner Fire. And interestingly enough, that little ridge there that I jumped over, that can be used as a slight reset spot. It's very finicky, but it can be used. And yeah, this actual solo took me a while to figure out until YouTube put up a great video of something that you could do on Midnight and Atomans, so I will pop that link in there as well. I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but thanks to them. But yeah, the boss does too much damage as a duo, but when you do one at a time, man, it's so much easier. So anyway, you're going to shackle one here, put your dots up on the other ones. I am actually going to run to that lip. It's a lot easier to run to that lip rather than worrying about taking too much damage. And one thing I often do is I put Devouring Plague on mobs over and over just for that initial damage. It's not mana efficient, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm on a raid boss right now. I'm literally just taking patrol mobs and taking trash. So a bit of swag Shadow at death there, but yeah, again, just showing you now that you can dispel, you can run them around, you can do whatever you want. It's pretty good, this lip here, and these mobs don't reset, the boss does, but yeah, these mobs will always just remain where they are. I'm tapping my foot there because I'm waiting for the other mob to come through. So you're just dispelling the strength bonus. Not necessary, but every little helps, I guess. Oh yeah, just in regards to, you know, your spec, I'm probably not in the best spec. I've opted for one with a silence, just because I was doing Heroic Majesty's Terrace solos, and for the third boss I needed a silence. So, granted, you don't need a silence for this boss. You can use your general shadow spec. I did try this in Discipline, but it just took way too long. Ended up dying just of not having any mana at all. But yeah, I'm going to point out the straw cart to the side while I'm just waiting for the indestructible potion to come off cooldown. So you can see there's a T, and then that leads to the hay cart. What you can do is you can actually run up that middle part where you can see leading up to the hay, and you can run up that middle part, and that's actually a reset spot for the boss. So what you initially do is you run back, you go over it, and go to the back, and then disperse to the front. This causes both Ataman and Midnight to join together and to be stacked. And then you go back to the front, jump on top of the hay barrel, and then reset both the enemies. Ataman will stay out for a couple seconds, Midnight will go back into its non-aggressive position. Yeah, as you can see, jumped over, went to the back. I've dispersed because I don't want to take too much damage here. You can probably get away with not doing that. Then jump back on the hay barrel, the hay crate, sorry. And you'll see that they're both looking at me, they're both evading. I'm going to keep wanding Ataman just to make sure that he stays in some form of combat with me. And yeah, in a second Midnight will run away. There we go. Ataman will then start attacking, and there you go. You've split them up. You'll see Ataman's doing, what, 2500 damage? Not really doing that much per hit, and I'm healing way more. That's the power of the inner fire glyph and the indestructible potion. And a few things to mention when I'm doing this: I'm often so tempted to use the mana potion or the wild magic potion or haste potion, whatever. You need to save that cooldown. You need to make sure that the indestructible potion is the one that you use, and just wait for that. So from this point on, just DPS the boss down. If you're comfortable using Shadow at Death, go for it. If you're not, don't. Depending on how much health I've got, I tend not to use it. But yeah, just take the boss down slowly but surely. This particular one, actually, I do remember taking a fair bit of damage and getting a lot of misses. I don't usually get too many misses, but yeah, there you go. You see the indestructible potion. I probably should have used VT and Shadow and Pain rather than Plague, but I didn't want to become a Shadow Fiend. And I used the Shadow Fiend there as well, just for the additional damage. You can use it at the beginning, but it's kind of a bit of a waste when you've got full mana and you're going to reset them anyway. You can use it on Ataman, but I just find it's really useful at that point to have the extra damage. But yeah, just continue with your rotation as best you can. Use Dispersion. You can use it in two ways. You can one, just use it just for the mana, or if you're getting low in health, you can then use it while your dots are on the boss, but I would suggest never to use Dispersion without dots being on the boss. Another thing to mention, a lot of people get weirded out when you start healing. You've got the power to heal and you can survive from healing. The boss is never going to do too much damage to you, so you're always going to be able to heal through it. So yeah, just continue. Slowly take the boss down. And, yeah, my guildie writes me a message in a minute, a fellow Mount Hunter. Getting a lot of misses there. It's very frustrating. I think he hits me for it, yeah, 5k there. So I immediately going for the heal. And just another thing you can do as a priest, that Hymn of Hope that we have, big long cooldown, but you can use that just to get that additional, I believe, 30 or 40% mana for a few seconds. Rupture or Rapture or whatever. Super helpful. You can use it to basically get all your dots back up and yeah, just delay a potential death. I also have the PvP trinket, but yeah, I've got dispersion anyway, so I've got enough mana. And yeah, Ataman is down. Unfortunately, this one I don't get the mount, but hopefully this helps the Shadow Priest out. If you have any questions, pop it in the comments. But realistically, everything you need is there and will be in the description.